And we're live. All right. My name is John Gennaro. This is Bandwagon Beach. This is a live video. I don't know if it's a podcast, but I've had some people request to have this put on a podcast feed. It is on a podcast feed, but I haven't submitted that podcast feed to Apple and Spotify. It doesn't matter. I'm going to try and clean up a bunch of stuff about Bandwagon Beach and tie together some loose ends from Section 1904 this week. It's high on my priority list. All that stuff is coming. I did want to turn on the camera though and chat for a little bit because it's been about a week since I've done that, and I have Padre thoughts. So we're gonna spend some time with me once again yelling and complaining about the San Diego Padres and the offseason that they're having. And it's going to be somewhat centered around Padres FanFest, which happened yesterday down at Petco Park. Here's things that I'm not going to be talking about today. Not going to be talking about Justin Rose setting records, going wire to wire at Torrey Pines at the Farmers Insurance Open. Good for him. It was boring. Sorry. Not going to be talking about San Diego State basketball, men's basketball losing to Utah State yesterday, I think. Yesterday morning. I don't know. They have the same record. They're tied for first in the same conference. It doesn't seem like that's one to really get that worked up about. So we're just going to skip over it. San Diego Football Club, I believe, plays a game tomorrow in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So that'll be fun. That'll be exciting. Maybe I'll have something to react to there. No other real news there, except it seems like the team is kind of hiding Chucky Lozano from their marketing campaign, if nothing else. Seems like they are still dead set on trying to get him out of here. He is not yet, so we'll see. We'll see how that progresses over the next few days and weeks. But what I want to talk about today is the San Diego Padres, and what I want to start with is AJ Preller, because I looked this up this morning. It has been 87 days since November 7th, 2025. That was the day that I believe Dennis Lin was the one. Dennis Lin wrote an article titled Padres Choose Craig Stammen as Next Manager, an Unexpected Twist. And it says in here, Preller, whose recently uncertain contract status appears to be coming into focus. Preller has spoken with team chairman John Seidler about a multi-year extension, with club sources indicating the Padres intend to finalize a new deal for their president of baseball operations before or around the time Craig Stammen is formally introduced Monday at Petco Park. Again, this was 87 days ago. This was not the first time that this was mentioned, though. Dennis Lin and Ken Rosenthal wrote an article for The Athletic on October 17th. This is before even friggin' Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and all of that. This was 108 days ago. 108 days ago, Dennis Lin and Ken Rosenthal wrote, longtime San Diego Padres general manager AJ Preller faces renewed questions over his job security. This week, as the franchise contended with the fallout from Mike Shilt's resignation as manager and reports of his conflicts with coaches and others in the organization, team sources indicated that another contract extension for Preller is possible, but not guaranteed. Fast forwarding, in the last 2 years, Preller and Schilt oversaw the first pair of consecutive 90-win seasons in team history. Yet, Preller's future remains uncertain as he approaches the final year of his current deal. So yesterday at FanFest, AJ Preller is asked about this, of course, because it has been some time. 108 days is 3.5 months. It has been some time that we have known that AJ Preller needs a contract extension if he wants to remain as the GM and president of baseball operations for the San Diego Padres beyond this season. And I'm going to give you his quote because someone asked him why, like, what has gotten in the way of that contract extension? Because Kevin Acee has reported several times that the team is very confident that they are about to get AJ Preller to sign an extension, and then it doesn't happen. I just read you Dennis Lin. Some team sources, if you dig deeper in there, are very confident that AJ Preller is going to sign an extension. It's been almost 4 months, and he has not signed an extension. This is when he was asked about that. This is what he said yesterday, quote, "I think part of the timing piece a little bit is on me in terms of you get into these off seasons with the focus on winning and putting a team together, and I'm not great at focusing on anything other than that this time of year. So I think that's been a part of it. I think the biggest thing is when you have win-win deals, when everybody is fair and they're honest and realistic, I expect something to get done and to talk." That's the quote that Kevin Acee has in there. I want to see the quote that Dennis Lin had because I feel like it was different. Here we go. His article, which came out 2 days ago, says Padres AJ Preller still expects contract extension despite turnover heavy offseason. And this was the important part of the quote. And it is an extension of the quote that Kevin Acee had, because you can see the part where he says, "I'm not great at focusing on anything other than that this time of year." So I think that's been a part of it. He said, "I think I'm pretty realistic when it comes to making deals and what it looks like. And I think win-win deals are when everybody's fair and they're honest and realistic." Wait, where's the part that I was looking at before? There was a part. Oh, here it is. Okay. No quote, "Knowing you're in the sale process versus an owner's going to be here for 10 plus years, and that's not there, that's at least a conversation. But in terms of what we're trying to do on the field, my situation, it's been just straight up conversation with myself and John, hoping to try and get something done here soon." The interesting part of that is the first part of that last quote where he says, "Knowing you're in a sale process versus an owner's going to be here for 10 plus years, and that's not there, that's at least a conversation." I read that a very specific way. I read that with him saying, "Look, it was really easy for me to sign with Peter Seidler because I knew he was going to be here for a long time. And it was really easy for me to sign an extension with Peter Seidler and the Padres because I was planning on being here for a long time, and so was he." Now he doesn't know who his boss is going to be. That's what he's saying. He's knowing you're in the sale process versus an owner's going to be here for 10 plus years. He is saying, I'm negotiating with a guy who is trying to sell his team. And he's essentially saying, look, what if I sign a 6-year extension and then John Seidler sells to an owner who's like, tear down the team. Winning's not important to us anymore. And now he's stuck because now he's got a contract. So I do think there's an element of AJ Preller, and Darren Smith was pointing this out when we were doing the Section 1904 podcast. There's an element of this where AJ Preller is saying, this is not the job that I signed up for. These are not the bosses that I agreed to work for. And the people I'm negotiating with are not even trying to be the people honoring that side of the contract. So why would he sign it? Like, unless you think AJ Preller is absolutely terrified of his contract running out and becoming essentially a free agent GM that could go anywhere, which I'm going to be honest with you, he's not afraid of that. Then what would be any point of him signing a contract that didn't overwhelm him with the guy who's trying to sell the team? Unless they're offering him, here, have the richest Pobo contract in baseball, make $20 million a year. Unless it's that, I don't see any real reason why AJ Preller would negotiate with John Seidler, negotiate an extension to stay here beyond when John Seidler would be here, beyond when John Seidler would be his boss. And I don't think they're going to settle him down by saying, "Well, Grupner will be here." Because as we know, AJ Preller and Eric Grupner don't always get along. And I don't think AJ Preller likes the idea of his boss going from being the owner of the team who can write a check to being Eric Grupner, especially since they've been equals for a very long time. So that was one piece of news that came out of FanFest that I was like, "Well, that's not good." Like AJ Preller being quoted as saying, like, "Hey, it's hard to negotiate with a guy who's not going to be here," which to me says that is the thing that has kept the extension from happening. And that's not a thing that I suspect is going to change anytime soon. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, they're like, "Hey, new owner." He sits down with AJ, calms his nerves, and AJ's like, "Yeah, sure. Me and John Seidler actually worked out this deal. I just wasn't signing it until I knew what the future looked like. And now I do. And it's great. And blah, blah, blah." I don't expect it to work like that. On the, let's go short term first. The short term future of the team. Uh, at FanFest, it was said by Craig Stammen, and I believe it was said by AJ Preller, that the plan for first base for the San Diego Padres, it's not Luis Ariz. He is now a San Francisco Giant. The plan for first base is to have Gavin Sheets start there. Now, look, I like Gavin Sheets. I do. But the Padres pulled Gavin Sheets off the pile of trash last year. He had spent 4 years being a below average player for the Chicago White Sox, who gave up on him. The Padres, unless I'm mistaken, gave him an invitation to spring training, but I don't think it was actually a major league deal until a portion of the way through spring training. He had to earn his roster spot, which he did. And then he had a good year. He played in 145 games. He had 545 plate appearances, highest of his career. And he was almost a one WAR player, according to Baseball Reference, which means he was slightly above average. You could argue that maybe his defense in left field, which he was asked to do for a while before they acquired Ramon Laureano, maybe his defense in left field really hurt that number, because from an OPS perspective, his OPS was 746, his OPS plus was 105. Now, all those numbers say this is an average. He was an average baseball player last year, which is better than he's been. But he's been an average baseball player. He also hit 19 home runs. If the idea is you're going to go with Gavin Sheets as your first baseman, you're not doing it for his defense. And 19 home runs, you're not really doing it for his offense either. He had a lower OPS plus than Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr., Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, Bryce Johnson. I mean, a lower OPS plus than all of those guys. So this has disaster written all over it. This has a regression to the mean written all over it. This has Gavin Sheets turning into a pumpkin written all over it. This has bad defense at first base written all over it. And more importantly, there doesn't really appear to be a backup plan here. Like, I think both the people who talked about it referred to it as Gavin Sheets getting the first crack at first base. I don't know who gets the second crack. I guess they're still signing people, but this is bad. This is bad. Not to mention the fact that I wasn't aware of this, but I saw this in one of these articles. Gavin Sheets' lefty-righty splits were not great last year. His OPS against righties was 777. His OPS against lefties was 669, which is bad. I mean, he walked a little less. Mostly when he hit, he was more of a singles hitter. against lefties. All but 2 of his home runs came against righties. Most of his doubles came against righties. He makes good contact against righties. He also is a much better hitter away from Petco Park than at Petco Park. Um, this feels like this should be Plan C. Like Gavin Sheets as your starting first baseman feels like it should be Plan C, not Plan B, and definitely not Plan A. So I remain as concerned as humanly possible about what the Padres are doing at first base. And if Gavin Sheets is your first baseman, I would love to know who the designated hitter is going to be. Uh, Craig Stammen and I think AJ Preller both did the thing that I hate the most of anything when a team does not have a designated hitter on the roster, which in recent San Diego Padres memory often means they did not have any money left over to sign a designated hitter or trade for one. They say, "Oh, we're going to use the designated hitter spot to get some of these guys off their feet. We're going to use a designated hitter spot to give Manny a day each week, and Xander a day each week, and Jake a day each week, and Gavin a day each week. They're going to get a day. Tatis, maybe Merrill, Laureano. These guys will get days where all they have to worry about is hitting because they'll be the DH, and that's going to keep everyone fresh." And Mike Schilt, did that for a year and a half pretty successfully. And you know what AJ Preller said at last year's deadline when he traded for Ryan O'Hearn? We needed freaking DH. That was a team that also had Luis Ariz, who was a first baseman slash DH. So if Gavin Sheets is your first baseman and your DH is whoever's getting a half rest day that day, that feels like a pretty that feels like a situation ripe for disaster. They also said, specifically Craig Stammen, when asked about Luis Campusano, is, hey, maybe Luis Campusano's an option at first base. Maybe he's an option at DH. Nope. Luis Campusano, he's going to be given a chance to catch. Craig Stammen, hearing the calls from people going, well, there's a lot of pitchers who don't like to pitch. Well, Craig Stammen pitched to him just fine. So why would anyone else complain? Craig Stammen had no problem throwing to Luis Campusano like 6 years ago. So why would anyone complain? So Luis Campusano's the backup catcher. That feels like a disaster waiting to happen, and not for any other reason than Freddie Fermin. I should look this up, but Freddie Fermin was always a backup catcher in Kansas City. And when he came to the Padres, they immediately made him a starter, and he wore down pretty fast. Let's see. Last year, he played in 109 games. The year before, he played in 111, roughly the same amount of plate appearances. But I just remember him playing almost every day and him wearing down. Let's see if I have this right. Monthly splits. Let's see. He must have gotten traded in July. And then in August, his OPS was 621. And then in September, October, his OPS dropped down to 611. On base was down. Batting average was down. Slugging was up a little bit. They don't have strikeouts here, but I feel like he struck out a lot in September and October. I'm a little concerned about what happens if Freddie Fermin gets so worn down that Luis Campusano has to, be starter for a while because Freddie hurt something, dinged something up. Can't imagine that's a good. Again, this Luis Campusano as your backup catcher is a fine Plan C. It should not be Plan B. It should not be Plan A. And yet it feels like the Padres are rolling into this season like, yeah, sure, Gavin Sheets starting first baseman. Why would we need a plan B behind that? Luis Campusano is our backup catcher. Why would we need a plan B behind that? The team is out of money. And I know Craig Elston and the boys on Padres Hot Tub gave me shit for this last week when I said it. I said that this is broke team behavior from the Padres. And they're like, well, look at the total payroll. Look at the total payroll. If this was broke team behavior, they'd be trading off these big contracts for whatever they could get for them. Sure. I agree with that. I do think that if the Padres wanted to trade Xander Bogaerts right now, I don't think they can. Like, I don't think they have the pieces, and like, you would have to attach Tatis to him to get someone to take Xander Bogaerts' contract. And Manny's not quite that bad, but, like, it's pretty freaking bad, man. They're paying that man a lot of money into his, like, early to mid 40s, and he's already showing signs of slowing down. And what I mean by broke team behavior is that, despite the fact that, the Padres will probably end up with the top 10 payroll again this year, is they're looking at major issues that they know will come back to bite this team in the ass in October, if not before then. And they're saying, we don't have money to deal with that. We don't have money for a first baseman. So, Gavin Sheets, we don't have money for a backup catcher. So, Luis Campisano, we don't have money for a designated hitter. So, everyone takes turns. Like, there was a line in probably this AC article. Let's see. That's the thing about Darvish. We'll get to that. No, it must have been in the Dennis Lin one. Here we go. As The Athletic reported earlier this month, the Padres prefer to spend the majority of their remaining budget on free agent starting pitching, potentially in the range of $8 to $12 million in average annual value. With a settlement involving Yu Darvish's contract expected before opening day, team sources said the final number will not significantly impact San Diego's financial flexibility either way. Preller and Darvish, who has 3 years and $43 million left on his deal, have for months discussed scenarios in which Darvish potentially forfeits a majority of that money. Michael King even had a quote where he said, "You'd have to ask Darvish how he helped Preller give me an extra couple of dollars, I guess." I do want to see okay. I think there was a part of this in the AC article too. Here we go. Padres chairman John Seiler said in December that the team's 2026 payroll would be similar to last season. That 2026 number sits at approximately $220 million, according to Fangraphs.com. That is $9 million more than the final 2025 tally. And then in parentheses says that number does not include bonuses or the team's competitive balance tax bill. This is AC I'm reading. However, the team expects to have available most or all of Yu Darvish's $16 million salary for this season once the veteran pitcher, his agent, the MLB Players Association, and the club agree on terms of his walking away from the remaining 3 years and $46 million remaining on his contract. Multiple members of the front office insist the team still plans impactful acquisitions, though they acknowledge that those additions are likely not going to be culled from the top of the free agent market. Various trade talks are ongoing as well, but none are considered close to fruition. All right, let's boil all this down. One, everyone seems to agree that Yu Darvish is going to void a large chunk of his contract, I suppose, as a favor to the San Diego Padres. That being said, you can save all the Yu Darvish as a hero shit until it happens. Like I don't need your podcast about Yu Darvish, what an incredible human being, because Kevin Acee wrote an article that said that Yu Darvish was going to void his contract that was then refuted by Yu Darvish and his agent. But I'm going to talk about it like it's happening anyway and give him huge credit for it. Stop that. Stop. If Yu Darvish voids his contract and gives a ton of money back to the San Diego Padres just because he feels like he owes it to Peter Seidler and AJ Preller, we will have plenty of time to react to it then. The same with this shit. Like, the team expects These are two different things, by the way. Kevin Acee saying the team expects to have available most or all of Yu Darvish's $16 million salary for this season once the pitcher, his agent, the MLB Players Association, and the club all agree on the terms of what Yu Darvish should get to walk away from this contract. That's four different parties. The Padres have found it impossible to extend AJ Preller in a two-party conversation. They have to get four different parties on board before this can happen. But Kevin Acee says they expect it to happen, and they expect to have all or most of his $16 million salary available for this year. But Dennis Lin says with a settlement involving Yu Darvish's contract expected before opening day, again, can we just wait for these things to fucking happen? Team sources said the final number will not significantly impact San Diego's financial flexibility either way. Those are two different things that are at odds with each other, and both of them are completely relying on a thing that has not happened yet. A thing that Yu Darvish and his agent came out when it was reported that it was going to happen and said, no, it's not. That's not happening yet. And it seems like there's four different parties, each with different interests that have to get on board for this to happen. So you can miss me with the Darvish stuff. But again, all of this to me just boils down to like they have run out of money. I'm not saying they are acting like a broke team. They're acting like the Oakland A's. They're acting like a team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Miami Marlins. They have no contracts on the books. They're just trying to make money from their fans while putting out a terrible. They're not doing that. But the Padres are very clearly looking at this expensive roster, seeing that there are obvious flaws with it, and saying, we don't have the money to fix that. And that, to me, is broke team behavior. Stay in your lane. If you don't have the money for the maintenance on a Porsche, then you don't have the money to buy a Porsche. And right now, the Padres have a Porsche, but they don't have the money for the maintenance. They can't get the oils changed. They can't get new tires. They can't get the new air filter even in the Porsche, and it's falling apart. And by the way, like I feel like the Players Association would be in on this, but like, since when is the media allowed to talk about a guy and his contract situation like this? Since when is the media allowed to just make assumptions that Yu Darvish would walk away from guaranteed money for the benefit of the team without saying, like, the AJ Preller thing? Oh, they're working on a thing. Hopefully it comes soon. The Yu Darvish thing is like, yeah. It's happened. It's coming. Don't worry about it. Padres are going to get used money back in their pocket, and then they can go buy some middle of the road starting pitcher. I don't understand it. I feel like there are rules against this, and whatever. I also don't know what to make of Craig Stammen. Like, it's going to be very interesting to watch him go through a difficult time as the manager of this team, because he's just Mr. Smiley, happy-go-lucky, Mr. Coach speak. Everyone's good. Everyone's fine. I like everyone. We're all good guys. Dominican Republic was fun, and now I'm better at managing Fernando Tatis because I went there. Like, it's all weird stuff. We're going to learn a lot more about Craig Stammen. I don't need to make any judgment about Craig Stammen right now. However, I am going to spend a couple minutes and judge Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado, the aforementioned really bad contracts on these books. Really bad contracts to the tune of $630 million. $350 for Manny. These are just their current deals, by the way. $350 for Manny on an extension. $280 for Xander Bogaerts. Neither one of them showed up at FanFest. Neither one of them showed up at FanFest. Say it one more time. Neither one of them showed up at Padres FanFest. I totally understand that what Manny Machado thinks is that he gets paid to play baseball. And he gets very annoyed by having to do anything else. I'm here to tell you, Manny Machado, who's obviously watching, you don't just get paid to play baseball. You get paid to make the team money. They have decided to give you $350 million because they think that you will help them make more than that. And part of making the team money is doing stuff like that. Showing up at FanFest, answering questions, signing autographs, kissing babies. All the stuff Tatis and Merrill were doing. Jake Cronenworth was there. Michael King was there. As a matter of fact, I think everyone was there except for Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado. And if they were coming off like MVP seasons, I think I'd be like, look, that's an MVP. Like you're just happy to have that man in the lineup. Manny Machado is talked about as the captain of the fucking team. Like he is talked about regularly, openly as being the captain of the team and the leader in the locker room. And he didn't fucking show up to FanFest. AJ Preller was asked about it. Not going to play you guys the clip because I'm on Substack and I don't know how to play clips here. I don't even think I can. And he said, I've been in regular communication with Xander. And he said Xander had a familial obligation that they knew about that was apparently the same day as FanFest. And then he was asked about Manny, and he was like, "Yeah, Manny, previous obligation, but Manny's gonna be there. He's gonna be there at spring training. We love Manny. We love Manny on the team." Like there was no answer. There's no answer. I'm sorry. Like if any business wants to do this, I will prove that I'm being serious here. If any business wanted to sign me to a contract that paid me $30 million a year for 10 years or more, and they were like, hey, we just need to make sure that you have this date on the calendar cleared out so that you can show up and kiss babies and shake hands and sign autographs and answer some questions and get the fans excited for the upcoming season before we all head out to Peoria for spring training. I would be there because that is an intense amount of money for someone to hand me to play a game. And the fact that Manny Machado could not, I mean, the last time we saw him was in Chicago where he was yelling at, I think, Jake from CBS about some question he thought was like a clown question. We have not seen Manny in a good place with the media in a while. But for him to just duck this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the franchise. It should be embarrassing to the clubhouse. It should be embarrassing to Manny Machado to call himself the team leader, to call himself the captain, to be the veteran leader, the highest paid guy on the team. And you can't show up for a couple hours? That's embarrassing. Xander Bogaerts got a contract so high above what the market said he was worth because the Padres were like, we want you here. We want to build a great team and we think you're a part of it. Nope, no, just give me my money. I'll show up to the games. Not going to do a damn thing else. It's, look, I don't go to FanFest. I haven't been to FanFest in years. But that's, and like, I don't consider FanFest to be a big deal. I don't even think it's that big of a deal that they didn't go. But I think right now, coming off the year they just came off, where, there are some beloved star players who left in the offseason, and there is a manager who retired from the Padres to take a job with another team. And you hired as his replacement a former relief pitcher who's never managed before. And the owner says the team is for sale. And the GM has not signed a contract extension that has apparently been sitting in front of him for almost 4 months now. Like, the fans need something. The fans need something to get excited about. And two of the three highest paid players on the team said, nah, not our job, not our responsibility. That is annoying. And I don't really know what to do with that except to be annoyed by it. So, whatever whatever negative feelings I had for Manny Machado already last season, they've probably gotten worse. Xander, I didn't have any negative feelings for. I've always liked Xander. I like the way he goes about his business. I like that he works hard. This is embarrassing, dude. This is embarrassing. Like, they pay you how much per year? $25 million a year? $25,454,545 a year. That's what he gets paid. And for that, he couldn't clear his calendar on February 1st, January 31st. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's bad from what is ostensibly your veteran leadership there. I mean, Machado's the highest paid player. He was 30 when he signed. Tatis is the second highest paid player. He was 21 when he signed. Jack Samaro was 21 when he signed. Yu Darvish is trying to get the hell out of here. Joe Musgrove wasn't really here last year. He's 30. Jake Cronenworth's 30. Michael King's over 30. Like, you are asking guys, you're asking Tatis and Merrill to take over as the face of the team is what you're doing. If you're Machado and you're Xander, what you're doing is you're absconding from your responsibilities as the veteran leaders of the team, and you're leaving Tatis and Merrill to deal with it. And that's probably going to come to a head at some point. When all of a sudden, man, he's like, I'm the leader of this team. Tatis is like, where you been? So I don't like that. I don't like a lot of this. And we can end on the last thing, which is from where did it go? Last thing from Keith Law at The Athletic. He did a report on like all the farm systems. He ranked all the farm systems in baseball last week. This week, he went a little deeper in on each one of them. He does the top 20 prospects for the San Diego Padres. I will read to you the paragraph before he gets into the top 20 prospects for the Padres. Quote, I knew the Padres system was down before I started writing this up, but afterwards, I realized it was in much worse shape than I had realized. You just can't trade that many prospects in that short a period of time without it affecting your system, and the state of their system is compounded by the draft strategy, which focuses on high-risk, high-upside prospects, notably high school pitchers, who fail at higher rates. I have a pure reliever at number 8 on this list, and it's not because I think he's Hoyt Wilhelm. Bit of a dated reference, but when he did rank all the farm systems in baseball, the Padres were the worst last week. And now he's saying there's so much worse than he even realized. Number 1 on this list is Ethan Salas, who he essentially says, like, there's nothing great to say about Ethan Salas. Missed almost all of last year with a back issue. That's, not going to be a problem when you're crouching down in a catching position for 3 hours every night. And then, number 2 is a pitcher, number 3 is a pitcher, number 4 is a pitcher, number 5 is a pitcher. So, this is the situation that AJ Preller finds himself in. And I keep telling people, like, if I was AJ Preller, I would probably be looking for a soft landing spot somewhere with ownership that's willing to spend more money than what they've already spent, which is not the Padres. And somewhere that has a full farm system that he doesn't have to build from the ground up, I guess, all over again, that he can take advantage of. And he can use those things in trades or development or whatever. Because right now with the Padres, like, this is a good job. Like, if AJ Preller leaves, and he has to be replaced. This is a good job for the floor that you have. As long as Tatis and Merrill and Machado and Bogarts are here, the team is not going to lose 100 games, right? It's probably not even going to lose 90 games. Might not even lose, 80 games. That's great. But you don't have any talent coming. You don't have any talent that you can necessarily trade for. And you don't have any money that you can spend to make this team better. You're stuck. They are stuck with this team. They are stuck with this team probably. I mean, the Machado and Bogarts contracts go on and on and on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, like 8 more years. The Tatis contract, the Merrill contract, the Cronenworth contract. The Cronenworth contract of the ones I just mentioned runs out after 2030. That's after 5 additional seasons to what has been played. I think he'll be 37 at that point. That might be a place in which you finally get a little unstuck. But right now, the Padres are stuck. They are stuck with this roster. They're stuck with this core, and they're stuck with no real money to add to it and no real developmental prospects that can come up and add to it. They are stuck. And that's what's driving me crazy. Now, granted, new owner comes in, things can change in a positive way, things can change in a negative way. Who knows what happens if and when a new owner comes in and buys this team? But for right now, this is a barren farm system. The team is admitting that they don't have any money to add free agents unless Yu Darvish wants to hand them some money back, which he may or may not. And the money that they do think they might be able to get back from Yu Darvish, they're going to try and use to replace Yu Darvish in their starting rotation, and they're going to go with Gavin Sheets, who this time last year you could have gotten for a nickel. They're going to go with Gavin Sheets as their starting first baseman, even though he can't hit lefties, and even though I don't know that he's that good of a first baseman. And they're going to go with Luis Campusano as their backup catcher, who I'm not sure Luis Campusano can hit. I'm not sure Luis Campusano can catch. So, and they don't really have a backup plan for any of those things. I'm just saying, it's been bad. And I think if AJ Preller were to sign his name on a contract extension, that would give some people some hope. Okay, he's got a plan. He's got a way to dig out of this. He's got, at least he's going to be here. We know it's going to be fun. We know he's going to find the best international talent. We know he's going to draft some prospects that get really hyped up and he can trade for them and everything. But without that, which I am on, if you ask me right now, my opinion is that AJ Preller does not sign that contract extension and we get, past the trade deadline or whatever, everyone starts admitting, the Preller and the team have decided that, with no long-term ownership plan in place yet, it's best that they go in separate directions. And instead, Jake Peavy is going to take over as the GM, or Mark Loretta will take over as the team's GM. While they, and then new ownership will be allowed to hire their own president of baseball ops or whatever it is. That's how I think it's going to play out. Because if I were AJ Preller, like there just is no reason for me to sign an extension right now. There's just none. There's no certainty as to what his job is going to be a year or two from now. So I don't know why he would extend past that. There's plenty of interest in him around Major League Baseball, if not elsewhere, for him to do kind of whatever he wants. And the Padres were built in a way to compete for a period of time, probably with some help from Peter Seidler's wallet. And that time has come and may be gone, and Peter Seidler's wallet is not here. I can't shake the feeling that this is gonna be a really rough season and maybe couple of years for the San Diego Padres. And FanFest yesterday, despite Craig Stammen's smiley nature, did not make me feel any better about that. So I wanted to rant and vent a little bit about that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't believe I can talk to myself for 45 minutes and people stick around and they listen to it. Thank you for that. I'll do it again sometime later this week, probably. Talk to you guys then.